Becoming a parent is the most incredible journey, but it also comes with its share of worries. And one thing I hear from new moms all the time is concern about baby spit up. It's completely natural, but let's be honest, it can be messy and sometimes a little concerning. Is the baby okay? Am I doing something wrong? We've all been there. That's why I wanted to share some simple, practical tips that can make all the difference. We're talking tried and true techniques to help minimize spit up and keep those precious little ones comfortable. All right, let's start with the classic burping. You see, babies, especially during feeding, can swallow air and that air gets trapped in their little tummies. And what happens when you have too much air trapped inside? You guessed it, spit up. But here's the thing, a good burp can work wonders. Now here's the key, don't wait until the end of the feeding to burp your baby. Gently burping them halfway through, and then again at the end, can make a world of difference. This next tip is all about using a little bit of physics to our advantage. After you've fed your precious little one, try keeping them in an upright position for about 20 to 30 minutes. Now, I know that might seem like a long time, but trust me, it's worth it. Gravity naturally helps keep that milk down, and that means less spit up. Think about it. We've all felt that uncomfortable feeling of food coming back up after a big meal. It's the same for babies. Giving them a little time upright can make all the difference. Now this next tip is all about listening to those little cues our babies give us. We're talking about avoiding overfeeding. You see, babies have tiny tummies, and it doesn't take much to fill them up. And when we overfeed, well, sometimes that milk has nowhere to go but back up. So how do you know when your baby has had enough? They'll actually tell you. Watch for those subtle signs, turning their head away from the breast or bottle, slowing down their sucking, or even closing their mouths tight. Those are clear signs that they're full and content. Chapter 4. Creating a Zen feeding zone. Calm and connected. Creating a peaceful, loving environment during feeding time isn't just good for the soul. It can actually help reduce spit up, too. When babies are overstimulated or excited, they tend to gulp down more air, and we already know where that extra air ends up. So, find a quiet corner, dim the lights, maybe put on some soothing music. The goal is to create a space where both you and your baby can relax and connect. Because feeding time isn't just about nourishment, it's about bonding and creating those precious moments of closeness. Chapter 5. The Power of Positioning. Finding the perfect angle. Let's talk about the art of positioning during feeding. Now, this might sound like a small detail, but trust me, it can make a world of difference. The key is to keep your baby's head slightly elevated during feeding. If you're breastfeeding, make sure their head is higher than your breast. And for bottle feeding, tilt the bottle so the nipple is always filled with milk. This simple adjustment can help prevent your baby from swallowing excess air, which we know is a major culprit behind those messy spit-ups. Chapter 6. Nipple Flow 101. Finding the right pace. For those of you bottle feeding, let's talk about nipple flow. You see, just like we have our preferences, babies do too. And if the nipple flow is too fast, it can overwhelm your little one, causing them to gulp down air along with their milk. So how do you know if the flow is right? Pay attention to your baby's cues. Are they sputtering or choking? Do you see milk dribbling out of their mouth? If so, it might be time to try a slower flow nipple. Chapter 7. Tummy time, but not right after feeding. We all know tummy time is important for babies. It helps strengthen their neck and shoulder muscles and promotes their development. But here's the thing, tummy time right after feeding? Not such a good idea. It's best to wait at least 30 minutes after a meal before putting your baby on their tummy. Why? Because all that movement can put pressure on their little bellies and you guessed it, increase the chances of spit up.
Know you've been a good friend.
Sometimes the simplest things can make the biggest difference. When it comes to reducing spit up, comfortable clothing is key. Avoid tight outfits that constrict your baby's tummy. Instead, opt for loose-fitting clothes that allow for easy movement and digestion. And of course, let's not forget about those trusty absorbent bibs. They're a lifesaver when it comes to protecting your baby's clothes from those inevitable spit-up episodes. Now, I want to be clear, spit-up is perfectly normal for most babies. But there are times when it can be a sign of something more serious. As mothers, we have an incredible intuition, so trust your gut. If you notice your baby isn't gaining weight, if they're vomiting forcefully, and I mean projectile vomiting, or if they seem uncomfortable or irritable after feeding, it's crucial to reach out to your pediatrician. And pay attention to the color of the spit up. If it's green or yellow, that could be a sign of an underlying issue that needs medical attention. As we wrap up, I want to remind you that you're doing an amazing job. Parenting is a journey filled with ups and downs, and spit up is just one of those little bumps in the road. Remember, as your baby's digestive system matures, the spit up will likely improve. And in the meantime, by using these tips and tricks, burping, creating a calm feeding environment, finding the right feeding position, you can help reduce those messy episodes and keep your little one happy and comfortable. Well, there you have it, my dear friends. I hope these tips bring you and your little one some peace of mind. Remember, every baby is different, so what works for one might not work for another. The key is to find what works best for you and your precious little one. And never hesitate to reach out to your pediatrician if you have any concerns. You've got this, Mama.